Okay, welcome to part 2. I'll put this as a response to part 1, so if you haven't watched that already, please do. I'm responding to a woman, Uchida, Helene, just to piss her off and say her name in Japanese style. No, Helene Uchida, I think is how you would say her name. A columnist for the Daily Yomiuri, and her criticism of the English textbook, for lack of a better word, that's being introduced for 5th and 6th graders. Now, this article that I'm talking about was written in April, on April 21st, 2009. So the books had only been available publicly for about a month, and had only been in use in classrooms for about 2 weeks when she wrote this article. So there's no way that she has any practical knowledge of how they would succeed or not succeed in a regular primary school classroom. I can tell you from having taught the book, the first 3 or 4 units in each book, at 6 different shogakko that I go to, that the book has been fairly successful. The part where you're going to run into problems is not the book, and maybe not even the students, it's the homeroom teachers, the Japanese teachers in the elementary schools that are in charge of now teaching English for 1 hour every week, along with an ALT in many cases, but not always. You know, it's really up to them, you know, how much they look at the book, follow it religiously, cut things out that don't interest them, you know, skip ahead, you know, do supplementary worksheets, do a little phonics, whatever they feel like they need to do. Many of them will just follow along with the book. I agree with her, the woman who wrote this article, but I'm kind of, you know, introducing the fact that they can do other activities within this framework. But the teachers are not used to teaching English. You know, this is why they're putting them out now before it becomes kind of a regular mandatory thing in 2011. Okay, getting back to her comments. Her next comment is, it appears that activities encourage the use of Japanese by the teachers to explain what to do and how to do it. I can envision a lot of Japanese being used to complete activities as opposed to the use of simple English. Okay, well, this is true somewhat. The biggest problem I have with the books, and I'll pause here for a moment, is this is the workbook that goes along with the 5th grade book. So it has sample lesson plans, but everything in it, all the explanation is in Japanese. So unless you can read kanji, because there's no furigana, you cannot understand how to play some of the games unless you're just, you know, you can figure it out sometimes. It's very intuitive by listening to the CD, etc., looking at the pictures, looking at the examples. So the fact that this book was made as basically the teacher's manual for this book, but there is no English version available for the thousands of ALTs in the country who are going to be asked to teach this book, is heinous. The Ministry of Education should get this book translated or an English version made available for all the JETs and Interact and every other ALT that's working in Japan, so we can fully understand the games, etc., and activities in the book. But getting more to her point, you know, what does she think? You know, if you go to a normal Japanese elementary school, not a language school where the kids are specially picked or, you know, have an aptitude for English, a normal elementary school, and you try to explain even the simplest game using only English, you'll spend 20 minutes explaining what to do. It is much better to explain either bilingually, have me explain it, then translate it into Japanese, and get the activity started, which should be the crux of what you want to do, than worry about the fact that the Japanese teacher is going to explain, okay, make groups of 4 in Japanese. Now pick a card up. Now say the name on the card. You know, these types of things in Japanese. There is nothing wrong with having that done either in both languages or solely in Japanese, and focusing on the activity, which is where you should want them to be using their English. I agree, in a perfect world it would be great if you could train your kids, and I do a little. I've taught my kids over the course of the 4 months, open your books to page nantoka, you know, close your books, use your pencil, get out your red pen, and you can slowly do this, and with repetition they will start to get it. But to criticize the book for the fact that the explanations are in Japanese for a Japanese person is ridiculous. So I completely disagree with her there. I think it makes the flow of your class better if you can use a little Japanese. Because, we're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-olds. And really, for a lot of them, their first sustained exposure to English. So, again, she's just out of touch. The song, her next comment, the song Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, which is incredibly popular here as a teaching song. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, eyes and ears and mouth and nose. Okay, I'm sure many of you know it. I've had to sing it many times. Now, I agree that it's used in the 5th grade book, and 5th graders are starting to get a little old for that song, although I've had teachers ask me to sing that song with 7th graders. But, the kids like it. If you're Genki, if I'm Genki and I'm like, hey, Joel, and I'm acting it out and stuff, they get into it. The kids love to sing. They love to stand up. They love to move around. There's nothing wrong with that song. She says, I know for sure the oldest primary school students would feel babyish singing that song. Well, maybe you would feel babyish singing that song because you're an old lady or something. I don't know. And, but I can make that song fun for just about any age primary school student. And, I play a game of Simon Says that's kind of based around that, where I make it Jason Says. So, who cares? It's one song out of a whole book. There are little people at the bottom of each page, which is confusing. I'll agree with her on this a little bit. There's these little people here at the bottom of each page, and it's not quite sure. Basically, it's like one of those stop-motion cartoons. So if they flip the pages like a flip book, at least in the Rokunensei book, they have the alphabet. Omoji and komoji, capital letters and small letters. So the kids do look down there and are able to see the entire alphabet. Why they did that at the bottom of the 5th grade book, I don't know. I will agree with her on that. I wonder when and how students will be transported into the English zone, her usage, with such a book. Well, I have 45 minutes, and I have to get all the kids seated. We have to do the aisatsu. They have to do the, Nichok-san has to do the Kyotsuke-rei. And so I probably have, and then with the closing aisatsu, I probably have about 40 minutes in a public school setting with any number of kids. It could be 15, it could be 25. I've had classes of 60 and 70. So, it's great that she can create an English zone for her students in her special little English language school. But in the real world, in a primary school in rural Japan, I wouldn't worry so much. I am the English zone when I arrive, and a good homeroom teacher can create that too. The book isn't supposed to be able to do that for you. Her final comment, this book is not user-friendly for teacher or students. Teachers do not understand how to use it, which will lead to confusing lessons and a dislike of the subject matter by students. And she compares her whole thing to The Emperor's New Clothes by Hans Christian Andersen. Anyway, okay, teachers do not understand how to use it. Well, duh. It's called a trial period. We're just starting out using the book. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I've not understood some lessons. But when I do that at one school, I'm now going to teach that same lesson maybe at 4 other schools, and I learn and I make it better and I tighten it up. And if I were to stay another year, next year when I teach that same unit, I would be right on it. And so will a lot of your better homeroom teachers. It's ridiculous to think that they're going to understand every page of this book and just be wizards at it when they've only just started using it practically in the classroom. And a dislike of English has nothing to do with the textbook, let me tell you. Again, I'm at 9 minutes. The books come, with the 2 books. The workbooks, which I have criticized, you also get CDs. A big problem for me, and the CDs are pretty good. There's lots of songs and activities. Overall, I've liked the books. The main 2 things I will say here in summation is you know, teachers will tend to just follow the book, page after page after page. And that's where a good ALT can come in and get them to divert every now and then and do supplementary lessons or something else, or a worksheet, or give the kids homework, or do something. Especially if you're going to have a schedule like me where you're going to see the same kids every week using this book. I'm actually really optimistic about its usage, and I've liked the fact that I've gotten to stay with the same group of kids, you know, week after week. I'm going to be very sad to leave them. The other thing I would say is that some of my schools just don't have the money or the resources to buy enough books. It seemed like there was a shortage of books when they first came out, and that's on the ministry. They should have printed enough and made them more widely available, because it's hard to teach a book when the kids don't have the book. All right, so boo to her article. You know, I don't think that it's a bad book. I think you'll come and you'll find ways to make it interesting, and over the course of the next few years before it's officially adopted, I think it can be a good resource. So, Eigo Noto 1, Eigo Noto 2, not bad. All right, thanks for watching. Peace.